Hope you're all doing well today. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing and showing you how to install the Cyelee Bull X Pro red dot. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, comment, and share to help support the channel. We'll start with the unboxing. It comes in this cardboard box. This paper shows if the optic is too far forward, it can cause malfunctions. We have your ballistic charts for the different zeros, a zeroing guide, so on top, if you turn it counterclockwise, it'll move the dot down. If you turn it clockwise, it'll go up. And then on the side, if you turn it counterclockwise, it'll move it to the left. And then in reverse, if you turn it to the right, it will move the dot right. Then we have the manual here, which I will get into in a little bit. Comes with a cool Cyelee patch, a sticker, a lens cloth, a bunch of screws in the number 6x32 range, and then also in the number 4x40 range. Also 2 tools, a Torx key for the mounting and a flathead for the dialing. Here we have the optic. This is a massive pistol optic that requires the RMR footprint. Bowl design here with the X Pro. These are your on-off buttons, brightness, and reticle changing. Over here's the battery compartment and then your dialing for your zero. You can see here just how big that window is. This is by far the biggest pistol optic on the market or that I've ever seen. Really big protective shrouds, and the front is recessed a ton. Even if you were to rack off this slide, you're not going to get any smears on the front. Because of how big it is, you could have no problem if you wanted to mount this on a rifle. On the bottom, we have some screws enclosing the electronics. It has a 2 MOA dot and a 24 MOA circle. Hold the plus button for 3 seconds to switch between the circles. I have the circle dot here, just the circle, which I will be using, and then the circle dot as well. This is good for quick sight accusation. This is going to be better for precision, and then this just clears up the center. We have some zeroing instructions here. I have a max torque of 15 inch-pounds. They have a 3-year warranty. Takes 1632 batteries. Press either the plus or minus to turn it on. Turn off the sight, you have to hold the minus for 3 seconds. It has 10 illumination settings, 8 daytime and 2 night vision. And a cool thing about this, it has the shake awake feature. So if there's no movement for after 4 minutes, it'll turn the sight off to save battery. Then when there's movement again, it'll turn it on. Now this has 50,000 hours of battery life, so I don't think you have to worry about anything there. And then they also have the lockout mode, which is another cool feature. So it gives you the option if you want to lock out the buttons on a specific brightness setting. You press the plus and minus at the same time for 4 seconds until it blinks 3 times. And then the optic will be locked in on that brightness setting. Onto the ballistic chart, it shows you the grouping depending on which zero you go for. I personally like the 25, but the 10-yard zero is a lot more feasible for most people. If you have an overhang past the ejection port, it can cause malfunctions or cycling issues. The battery already is installed in this. For everything here, this costs $300. I think that's a decent price point. When installing your battery or removing this tray, just make sure your optic is off. We'll go ahead and unscrew the battery compartment. Have a small screw here. So we have a tray here, and then you just want to make sure when you insert it, the plus is facing up. Just sits in there like that, no prongs or anything. Go ahead and slide it back in, then take that screw, drop it back in there. Just make sure when it's tightening, you're not cross-threading it. Put the screw in straight, go ahead and tighten that back down. Then to turn it on, we'll just go ahead and press one of the buttons. Definitely a massive window. You can really push the corners and the edges of this. If you pull out or present the pistol, you should have no problem finding your red dot. And I do like how this is so recessed. It's going to protect from any forward bumps. And if you're doing any racking off the slide, we'll go ahead and switch by holding the plus for 3 seconds. The farther it gets, the reticle will get thicker. It's kind of hard to see the dot in the center, but it is there. Looks pretty nice and has a few good modes. I will mainly be using just the dot for precision. I'm gonna hold it for 3 seconds to turn it off. These buttons are pretty hard to hit. It does have some resistance and you can feel when they click, so you know if it's going up or down. We'll go ahead and check the brightness on the single dot. So we turn it up. That is plenty bright for sure. We'll go ahead and turn it down all the way. Getting into our night vision, you can just barely see it there. This is not the most attractive looking optic for sure, but that nice big window is going to be really good for competition. No extra battery, no mounting plate. It does take the RMR footprint, so I had to buy an adapter plate for that. I will be further testing this optic. I do prefer red. $300 for an optic. I would say that's on the low or the middle end of the spectrum, coming right in under hollow sun. being an American company. Since I have a Glock, I'm going to be using the number 6-32s. I have my slide off for this. It just helps me sit it flat and a little bit more level. It also helps me show what I'm doing more. First thing we're going to do is install the adapter plate. Go ahead and place it in there, and you can see if it doesn't slip in right, it's not going to go in. So a very tight fit, very little movement at all. And before we get this installed, just going to make sure it fits on there, which it does. These don't come with Loctite, so you're definitely going to want to add some. For this video, I'm not, because I'm going to do it in a different video. For this Optic plate, we are going to torque it to 13 inch-pounds. For these, 12 to 13. I'm going to do 13. Just go ahead and drop those in there. Just get it started, and I'll go back and forth on them. If you're doing hand tight, just do it pretty tight until the screw stops moving under some force, but you don't want to strip the screws or damage the slide or anything like that. So I have both of them just barely snugged up. I'm gonna go back and forth until I hit my allotment. So there's 1, 2, and I'm just double checking here. So there's both for that. So there's no movement at all, which is good. That is what you want with an Optic plate and an Optic. You don't want this moving back and forth. Because this Optic plate is pretty tight, you see a gap under there. I'm gonna have to push this down harder. That's how it is with these Optic plates. You want a really tight finish so there's nothing moving at all. So I'm gonna push that on there pretty tight until I don't see any gap at all. I have this little rub it mallet here, which is gonna be nice for stuff like this, not actually breaking. I'm just gonna tap it on the front a little, get that seated down. Do the same for the rear. There's still a small gap right here. Not too fond of that. That just means that the RMR footprint or the plate with the Optic is not matching up, or the bottom of the Optic is kind of curving at an angle. There's still the slightest bit of gap there right up front in between the Optic and the adapter plate. Not a huge fan of that. We have to go with the 9.5s, and we have to go light. I have to go very light with them, just until I hit resistance. That's not good. I'm not liking that. Pretty sure it bent it. It's lifting up on both sides. Yeah, so it bent it. Not the right length screws. Having to trial and error. I did it very light. It shouldn't have bent it. I went with the 9.5s. Can't go any smaller. Here it is on my Glock 17 Gen 5. You can see it looks massive, and this is already a full-size handgun. You can see the ejection port as well. It's not passing the ejection port. This is what you want. If you look down this sights, this is a huge Optic. You're gonna get a ton of field of view on this thing. My sights do co-witness, so this does sit low enough to co-witness the sights. This was for my Acro P2, but being that the co-witness is nice. It does have a slight blue tint to it, which I don't mind. Got that single dot again, looks really good. You can push all the corners very well. We have the circle dot there. In person, you can see the circle center a little bit better. Biggest pistol optic I've ever seen. Biggest pistol optic I've ever owned. Seeming more geared towards competition because of how big that window is. But being that it is the Bull X, you could potentially use this for self-defense if you wanted. I'm hoping it will take a pretty good beating and last pretty well. Other than that, going to be doing some range time and testing on it, so we'll see how it does through that. Cyelee did send the Optic out for me for free. I did have to purchase the adapter plate. This is an honest review and an honest channel, whether I got this for free or I paid for it. And these are my initial impressions on the Optic. I would say this would be for somebody who wants a mid or an entry-level Optic. This would be good for somebody who's just starting out, or if you just want the biggest Optic window out there and don't want to spend a ton of money. If you want to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, and share to help support the channel. Thank you for watching.